What's up YouTube? Capital G here. So everybody in the Yu-Gi-Oh community, or a lot of the Yu-Gi-Oh community, have been talking about this 2020 Create a Card project. It started off probably with a whole lot of excitement because we, the players, were very excited that Konami was giving us an opportunity to vote on one of these 16 archetypes to get future support. And even more shockingly, we were actually going to design the support, which I can't remember at any time Konami actually doing anything like this. So obviously the players were very excited about that, not just the archetypes, but the fact that we were going to be able to help, create that card. Then a lot of the talk turned to a little bit of controversy because you guys know in recent days Konami has suspended all the polls because there is maybe some fraudulent voting going on, specifically when it comes to Valkyrie versus like Insector, and they're having Twitter investigate what exactly happened in this matchup. And there's a lot of speculation that there were bot votes and stuff like that. Now I want to talk about what archetype you might want to consider voting. Now there's no guarantee Konami is gonna fully do this because now they're investigating, and if it just keeps getting hit up by bots, they might end up shutting this entire thing down. But I want to just go back and look a little bit into the history of these archetypes when it comes to TCG exclusives, and it might actually change your opinion on what you're going to vote for. If you don't have like a deep affinity for any of these archetypes like myself, you're just like, oh, okay, I guess I'll vote for this. It might want to, or you might want to, reserve your judgment until you see some of the previous results. Now, this isn't going to perfectly translate because obviously with the Create a Card project, we the players are supposed to be designing the card. And while Konami R&D, you would hope, would be bound by, trying to make the card balance, we the players don't have that responsibility. Like if we want a broken frog card, we can just make a broken frog card. Konami themselves would probably be like, all right, let's scale this back a little bit because it's too broken. We don't have to do that. So this is just kind of showing you guys what Konami TCG side of things has brought to the table for some of these archetypes. As you would imagine, Lightsworn has by far the most cards. This is the oldest archetype, I believe, in the voting. Well, it's the oldest when it comes to physical release. If it's the oldest ever, I think Valkyries is technically like a DM archetype, but it never got released back then. But yeah, Lightsworn was the first to actually get a physical release, and I'd say it's been really hit or miss. You look at cards like Arcus and Aaron. Aaron's probably been a little bit of a power creeps card, better back in the day. Arceus is still a fine card, but some of these other ones like Vanquishing Light and Shire, whatever this last Lightsworn card, I didn't even know what the F this card actually was, but these are not cards that ever really did anything in Lightsworn. But then obviously you have the granddaddy of them all, which is Charger Light Brigade. If you know your Lightsworn history, I mean, you can make a very legitimate argument this is basically what made the Lightsworn deck, because I remember going back all the way to the tail end of GX when these things came out in Light of Destruction, the Lightsworn was just missing consistency. Like they didn't have enough good ways to get cards in the graveyard fast enough other than Solar Recharge, and Charger Light Brigade gave them a Rota Search, and it gave them a way of milling 3 cards at the same time. It basically like fixed the deck, to be completely honest. So I guess on the high end we could get something like this, but on the low end we could get cards like these. So Lightsworn may not be the best bet. We have Insectors, and you have Insector Hopper, which was okay for a hot second. Insector players, I believe during Zexal, when Billy Brick kind of had a rejuvenation to like Insectors, or added a rejuvenation, I want to say that this card was played as a 1-up. That was mainly thanks to cards like Dragonfly and Hornet going to 1. When Dragonfly and Hornet were at 3, you'd never even think about running Hopper, but this card was decent for a second. This other one, Zectahawk, nah, the only Insector equipped they ever really ran was Excalibur, which was a phenomenal card. When we move to the Sylvan archetype, I think it's just pretty much Princess Sprout. I mean, this card's pretty good in Sylvans. You definitely are going to play multiple copies of it, but some of the other ones, not so hot. So, you know, these are some of the archetypes that you have to think about. You're like, what is Konami's track record? Now, this is the one that newer Yu-Gi-Oh players might not know about, but Konami's track record is, it's just absolutely phenomenal. X-Sabers, man, I gotta do a Yu-Gi-Oh story on this. If you don't know a ton about X-Sabers, just know that this is an archetype that was failing before Konami TCG started giving them cards. I mean, because it was like midway through like 5Ds, I guess, like, yeah, like kind of like the middle parts of 5Ds, the Shining Darkness, kind of like around that time. And they had like they had individual good cards, but they needed stuff to like tie everything together. Their cards didn't work well enough together. And if you look at the TCG exclusives, especially, again, if you know your Yu-Gi-Oh history, this card right here, Dark Soul, what this did, allowing you to use Rescue Cat in the deck, pull a Dark Soul out, and an Airbellum, and it was basically like an evolution of Synchro Cat, because X-Sabers also ran Cold Wave. You know what? I'll just put all that in the Yu-Gi-Oh story. But just know this, like, these 4 cards were all played in the X-Saber deck when X-Saber was like tier 1 and winning, you know, YCSs and stuff like that. So Konami has done a phenomenal job with X-Sabers. Is X-Saber a deck Konami can save? I guess that's a different question. We'll have to see about that. Hazy Flames, I gotta be honest, I didn't even know Hazy Flames had a TCG exclusive card, which I don't know what this is. I still don't even know why Hazy Flames is in there. I know some Hazy Flame players are gonna watch this and be like, F you, Cap G, we deserve a chance to, but I don't even know what to say about Hazy Flames, honestly. I'm just gonna assume this card didn't do much, but maybe it's great. When it comes to Mermail, you have, I would say, easily a home run, and Mermail Abystius, which was, you know, that was released not in Abyss Rising, but this was actually Cosmo Blazer. This was like an underrated card at first. People thought that it was all about Megalo, and then later they started playing more Abystius because they realized that it just required a lot less resources. And in some of the newer age Mermail builds, like post Neft Abyss, I have seen people running like a single copy of this guy, Abyss Mander. I think it was mainly when Mermail was playing like 3 copies of Sekalite. So this card might not be one that people play actively in Mermail, but yeah, definitely a card that was decent. We have Photons with Photon Trident and Photon Saber Tiger. Neither one of these cards did anything for Photons. I actually ran this card, Photon Saber Tiger, in my TG top 8 regional build because it was just like, it was better in a vacuum than it was in like the TG archetype, if that makes sense. So like these 2 cards didn't do anything for TG. And then we have Submarine Frog, which, okay, let's just pass. Now there was one last card, and that is Valkyrie Shesh. I don't know how to pronounce this. It's German, dude. Valkyrie Sesh. This card actually is phenomenal. I mean, it basically is Altergeist Multi-Faker for the Valkyrie archetype. It's just like it can't do enough for Valkyries. So if you look at Konami's history with Valkyries, at least when it comes to TCG exclusives, I don't know. I think this card is absolutely amazing. Just because it's stuck in a terrible archetype doesn't mean that Konami didn't do a good job designing the card. But I don't know, man. Just based on their history, I would say there's a very good chance that we would get a very strong X-Saber card, because maybe Konami doesn't allow us to just have you know, everything we want in the most broken card ever, and maybe Konami's like, look, you guys can choose from these type of effects. That would make me feel very confident about X-Sabers, because most of what Konami has given us from X-Sabers and the you know, TCG side of things, it's been pretty good. But what do you guys think about this? What are you looking for when it comes to these archetypes? What do you want to win? We don't really need to talk about Gradles because I guess technically they've already been eliminated. But honestly, looking just back at the history, I mean, I'm not going to say I changed my mind because I still would want Valkyries to win, even though they're, I guess, fraudulently winning. But it made me rethink about X-Sabers, dude. Like, Konami's history with X-Sabers and their track record is so good. Anyways, whatever you guys think, you leave that in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching. As always, subscribe if you have not already, and turn on that notification bell.